Today in our 2016 Subaru Forester, we're going to be taking a look at installing the Roadmaster Diode 7-wire to 6-wire Flexo Coil Wiring Kit, part number RM-15267. And here's what it looks like once it's installed. As you can see with our Flexo Coil cable, it's going to allow you to extend your wire out to 8 feet, and it's going to recoil back to about 15 inches in length. Now this diode system is going to help protect your Subaru's electrical system from any kind of voltage spikes that may occur from your RV. It's going to be a separate system that's isolated, and it's not going to allow anything to backfeed into your car's electrical system. It's going to work strictly on its own with the diode kit. And it's going to help combine your tail lights on your Subaru into a combined setup instead of the separate turn signal and brake and tail light signal that it comes with from the factory. Now let's go ahead and show you how to install it. This will be our 7-way to 6-way Flexo Coil wiring. Get a little bit of wire loom, some zip ties, our diodes, a length of wire that's going to run from the front to the rear of our car, and a bracket. Now our first step is going to be to remove our tail lights. So we're going to take our 10mm socket. We'll remove the 2 bolts. We're going to want to just kind of pull back firmly. We'll squeeze in on this tab. We'll unplug it and we'll set our light to the side. Then we'll remove the other side. Squeeze in the tab. And we'll set the light aside. Now we're going to need to strip back the tape on our wiring harness so we can gain access to our wires. You want to keep in mind anything we're doing to this side, we're going to repeat on the other side. Now we'll need to figure out which of our wires is going to be our tail light circuit. Okay, that's our blue wire. So we're going to mark that one. And we'll test it on the passenger side. And it's the blue wire as well. Now we're going to need to fish up some of our wiring. So I took a piece of tubing and pressed it down. You can use a piece of air tubing, or you can use a piece of fish tape or wire. And we'll attach it to our 4-flat wire with some electrical tape. And we'll pull some up into place. Now we're going to need to separate out our wires. Just take a knife and kind of cut down in between them carefully so we don't cut the covering off the other wires next to it. And we'll separate back our wires. Now our white wire is going to be our ground. So we're going to just strip it back, and we're going to put a ring loop connector on it, and we're going to ground it to the body. We'll cut it back about 1/4 inch. We'll place on our connector, and we can crimp it into place. Give it a tug. Now we can take a self-tapping screw that we picked up at our local hardware store, and we're going to ground this onto the body. Make sure it's nice and tight, so we got a good ground. Then we're going to strip back our brown wire, about 1/4 inch, and our green wire. Our yellow wire we're not going to use, and we can put our blue spade connectors in place. Now we're going to need to cut this blue wire, making sure that our lights are turned off on the vehicle. We're going to snip it back. We're going to strip it back a little ways more because we're going to fold this one over. It's a thin wire. We'll fold it over onto itself. We can put on one of our spade connectors, and we'll do the same for the other side. Now we'll attach the single side of our diode going towards the plug or the bulb. Now on the other side, we'll take that blue wire, which is our tail lamp circuit. We'll plug it into there. Then we'll take our brown wire, which is going to be our tail lamp circuit, and plug it into the other half. Now we're going to test for our right turn signal. That's going to be our green wire that's coming out of our plug. So we're going to take this green wire, and it's got a brown tracer on it. We're going to cut it in half. And we'll strip this one back. We'll take our blue spade connectors, crimp it on, make sure it's nice and tight. Now we'll take our other diode with the single side, or the out, pointing to our plug or bulb, and the other half to the in part of it. Then we'll take our green wire from our 4-flat connector, and we'll go on the other half of that. Now these have some two-sided tape on the back, so I'm just going to stick them together. And then we'll wrap them all with electrical tape to help keep out any moisture or dirt. Now we'll take some electrical tape and we're just going to wrap our connections. And help keep out any dirt and moisture that might get in there. And we're going to wrap up this yellow wire, even though it's not going to have any power going through it, just to keep it out of the way. Then we can reinstall our light. Snap it back into position. You hear it click. And we're going to just kind of tuck this behind. And we reinstall our screws. Now we're going to need to route our wire from the passenger side up over the driver's side in a loop. Now we run our wire across the back of the vehicle behind these bumper brackets, making sure to zip tie it nice and taut, keeping it away from our exhaust so we don't have any wires melted. We went across, zip tie it to the same side on the bracket, and we've done it to the bottom of our bumper cover. Now we have another piece of tubing that we ran down from our left tail light that we're going to go ahead and pull up from the bottom side to the top so we can run our wire. Now what I did with our wiring is I marked the one that's coming, the half that's coming from the right side. Just put an RT on both sides so I know where I'm at, because we don't want to use the yellow wire that's going that direction because it's not going to have any power to it. It's going to be the one going to the front of the vehicle. Now we're going to need to separate these wires. Now our white wire we're not going to do anything with because that's already grounded on the other side. And our green wire is not going to have anything done to it, so we're going to just separate those down. Now the side we marked was this one here with the marker on it. So we're going to clip our yellow wire back because we're not going to use that half of it. And we're going to cut our brown wire in two. Strip them back. We're going to twist these two halves together. And we're going to put a yellow spade connector on that one that's supplied with our kit. And we'll crimp this into place. We're going to cut our yellow wire back. And we're going to put a blue spade connector on that one. Okay, now when we tested before, we know the blue wire coming out of our car's plug, it's going to be for our tail light circuit, our brown wire. So we can cut that back. We're going to install a blue spade connector. Another blue spade connector on the other side. We can take one of our diodes, side pointing out, the diode's going to go to the bulb or the plug end. And on the inside, we'll go the wire coming out of the vehicle. And we're going to take that yellow spade connector with our two brown wires crimped into it. That'll go on the back side. Now we're going to need to find the left turn signal wire. And that's going to be our white with the red tracer. So we'll turn off our power and we can cut that wire. And we'll strip these back a little ways so we can fold them over onto themselves. We're going to install our last two blue spade connectors. Now to the outside of our diode, we'll connect the other wire going to our plug and eventually to the bulb. And the other side of this wire is going to go to the inside. And our yellow wire running to the front of the vehicle come to the other half. We'll do the same thing we did on the other side. We'll just stick these two together and we'll tape them all up. Now we can reinstall our plug to our light socket. Once you hear the snap, tuck our light back into position, take our 2 bolts. Then we'll need to route our wires to the front of the vehicle. Now we ran our wire from our bottom of our tail light along the frame, up over the cross member, zip tying as we went. We went up over top of the cross member, making sure we keep away from any of the drive line parts or heat sources. And we've gone over here behind our heat shield, went underneath this cover, where we came back out, and went underneath this other skid plate in the front of the vehicle, making sure to zip tie it wherever we had any moving parts, such as steering or drive line. We've come across the inside of our skid plate in the very front, put a couple of small holes in here and put some zip ties. Another one we put right here, and we came out through our bumper. Now we're going to leave our excess in here so we can tie into our supplemental braking system. So we're going to need a little loop of wire so we can tie into it. We'll separate the wires back at the end here. And we're going to strip all these back, about 1/4 of an inch. Then we'll take the boot from our 6-way plug, slide that on first, and we can twist our wires up, and we can start attaching our wires. Now the one marked GD, it's going to be our ground. That'll be the white wire. We'll place that into the hole. Once we have it in position, we'll tighten it down. Next we'll do the LT, which is going to be our left turn signal, which will be the yellow wire. That one that says RT will be our right, will be our green wire. And our last wire is going to be the brown wire. It's going to go into the one marked TM for our trailer lights. Once we have those all tight, we'll just make sure we don't have any stray wires coming out. And we can slide on our protective boot. And we'll take some electrical tape. We'll tape our boot into place. Put some tape around the end of our wires to keep out any dirt and corrosion and moisture that might build up in there. Now we're going to push our loop back inside the grill until they're ready to install their supplemental braking system. We'll take some self-tapping screws and some small flat washers, place them into the holes, and we can secure them. Now we've plugged in our 6-way to 7-way Flexo Coil cable into our trailer tester. Now we can test our tail lights, our left turn and brake signal, and our right turn and brake signal. And everything's working just the way it should. And that's going to do it for our look at and install of the Roadmaster Diode 7-wire to 6-wire Flexo Coil Wiring Kit, part number RM-15267 on our 2016 Subaru Forester.